Every day, you are supported by thousands of engineers you never meet, ever. They are the reason why your phones, your banking system, your financial markets, your health monitoring system, basically anything you think is critical is being taken care of. And these invisible engineers are the reason why you feel very safe. For example, like when you get on to an aeroplane, when you board, you find your seat, you sit, and then you're probably complaining about your leg room. For once, did you ever think like how many things could go wrong when the flight is in motion? You're probably feeling so safe that you forgot all those things. But behind this, there is someone or a team who is constantly and imagining millions of things that could go wrong. They are strategizing, they are implementing backup strategies, they are basically building a whole infrastructure behind all the critical parts so that you can have a safe flight. And these invisible engineers are called reliability engineers. And that's me, one of them. My name is Nikhil Padala. I'm an infrastructure engineer and a reliability engineer. My role has been building traditional, let's get back. I'm also a 3 times founding infrastructure engineer as well. What that means is I lay the foundations for building the critical infrastructure. My experience has been on trading and crypto markets, but it could be anything. So I want to talk to you about these invisible people. These invisible people, like me, we don't thrive on applause or recognition because we are never seen to anyone. When things go well, no one is looking at us. No one is clapping for things are working. You know, it's never a story. Imagine an airplane that has a story in the newspaper. You would always hear about it. But you would never hear about the engineers who are working day and night to make sure that the flights actually do not end up in a newspaper. So I want you to take you back to when I was a teenager. Probably that's when you guys were born, in 2004. I had an old Pentium 3 computer and I had Windows on it. It used to heat up so much that I kept the cabin out and I was running Windows. Back then I used to enjoy like playing a lot of video games, and any time, like within 4 minutes into playing any video, the computer used to restart. I was really frustrated, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to install Linux and then make it work. So I installed Linux. It was basically black screen with a blinking cursor. Now, there was no video, there was no audio, there was no network. And I was determined to actually play a video, at least I can watch movies in this old computer. So I couldn't sleep for the whole week. I sat in front of that computer trying to troubleshoot it so that I can just play audio and video. It took around a week or 10 days with a lot of sleepless nights, and eventually I was able to get it working. Now, that feeling where it almost felt like I'm solving this puzzle and I forgot the whole world changed the way I started to look at things. There is some sense of submission into the process where I couldn't think of anything but the problem, solving that problem. It wasn't creative building, but rather creative engineering, where I'm breaking down everything so that I understand how things work and then connect the dots and solve the problem. Now that continued pretty much all my life. Now when someone asks me what I do, this is what I do. I just sit in front of a computer and see what's wrong, what should be working that isn't, and then I sit and I solve the problem. Sometimes I don't sleep for like 10 days. Okay, maybe I sleep for like 3-4 hours a day, but I get it done. And I get paid for that, playing a video game kind of a thing. So now let's talk about reliability engineering itself. What does it mean, reliable? Does it mean that something shouldn't ever break? Well, everything breaks. Look around, everything breaks. But the role of a reliability engineer is actually step in and calculate all the odds of something could break and come up with strategies so that we call it reliable. Now, how does that look like? Let me tell you a story about, let's say, redundancy. Redundancy basically means in excess, in a basic English language. However, in reliability engineering, redundancy is n plus 1. Everything that serves you is n plus 1. So you have one thing in excess so that if everything fails, this is the other one that supports the rest of it. However, back in 1986 or something, researchers did a small, not a small, actually a very impactful research in Stanford. They invited 27 programmers from 2 universities and asked them to write a program. And they were tested millions of times to find how these students fared. Everyone failed, and everyone failed exactly the same way. And the reason was quite simple. They were taught by the same teachers, they were reading the same books, following the same curriculum, and hence they shared the same fate. Now, how do we bring reliability when everyone shares the same fate? Now, this is the challenge. This is often the case where a lot of organizations and teams forget how to handle this because they want to hire the elite from the best colleges, from the best universities taught by the best professors. However, when they are got into the team, let's say there are 5 engineers thinking similarly, same, are unable to actually think in a creative way because they all share the same dashboards, same backstory, same blind spots. So you don't have 5 engineers, you have, okay, you have 5 engineers, but like it's just one engineer 5 times basically. So this is not, this is basically inventory. You have excess of engineers, but like not in a diverse way of thinking. Now let me talk about teams. Now that we are talking about a group of engineers, let me talk about teams, reliable teams. We already spoke about diversity of thought in a team, but is that it? There's a lot more to it. In any organization, as we get into professional life, as your students get into corporate life, let's say, you start to follow certain processes and procedures, and you are confined to a certain culture where vulnerability is never encouraged. However, if you want to make your team reliable, you have to be vulnerable. What is vulnerability in a team? Vulnerability is the fence between you and the truth being expressed. That's how we build trust. Now, your integrity matters a lot. If you are not able to express how you feel when you're solving a problem, when there is a problem and you want to express it but you're not allowed to express it, it's not an ideal team. So the company has to make you feel emotionally safe to open up and express what is going on. Because hesitation is data. When you start to work for like 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 6 years, you start to internalize so many concepts, so many patterns that you start to develop this intuition kind of a sense where you just can predict what is about to happen. And that is very important in reliability engineering. It's when someone asks, why do you predict something could fail in this fashion? There is no rational answer. You can just say like, hey, I just feel it. And if the manager doesn't consider this person's feeling of hesitation, the gut feeling, then the manager is setting the team to a failure. I'll tell you a story. It was a long time ago when I was young. I just joined a new company. Within 1 month, I had to be on something called on-call. On-call is basically, probably doctors know about it. It's basically you are always alert, you're waiting for your phone to see if there's any alarm or an alert, you hop on and you put the files down. Manager told me after only 1 month, he's like, hey, are you ready? Your on-call is starting next week. I was hesitant. I said, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't know how to go about this, maybe. So he translated that into something like nervousness. And he started to actually encourage me like, hey, don't worry, it's going to be fine, there's that. So I was like, okay. I had 1 week to learn what it takes, like 6 months. I did my best. Monday comes, my first day on call. Everything was fine, no alerts. Tuesday, no alerts. Wednesday, things started to break. Now, to put off these fires, I was not capable. So I had to call my secondary, who is also on call, but next to me. And then he had to call 5 other engineers. So we are all in a team trying to solve a problem that could have been avoided had the manager actually felt my hesitation. So after something fails, we do something called postmortem. We run down everything. I was very honest with what was going on internally. This is not how I anticipated. I was not ready. So it turned out they haven't changed the rule in 6 months, that in this 6 months we built so much more that a new employee cannot learn all this in a month and be ready to firefights. So reliability engineering has a lot of firefighting. And if you feel like you are someone who can actually go towards danger, who can lit fires, you're the person this reliability team needs. It's very similar to firefighting. You are running towards the fire, you attend to alarms, and when everyone is panicking, the only thing you do is not panic. Stay calm in your mind, stay calm in your body, and then solve the problem step by step in a procedural fashion. You do so many drills of chaos. It's called chaos engineering. It's outside the scope of this talk, but you deliberately fail the systems when everyone is alive, as in everything is alive and everyone is present. Of course, everyone is alive. So this is what reliability engineering is. Now, here I want to inspire you to take up this profession. There's a huge demand for reliability engineers everywhere. And the challenge is, as I said, it requires a detective mind. It requires a lot of study. You are always preparing, always learning what's new. You become so aware of the infrastructure that you become one with it, so that you can just basically predict what something could go wrong. So there's a lot more I would like to share, but here I am. So the way you can move forward in reliability engineering is you become a firefighter. Thank you.